Welcome to Enterprise Services Client Briefing Center. So we're going to be starting then, Brian, with a really dynamic example. The airline industry, already super connected, but what happens if something goes wrong outside our control? What does the airline do to remedy that situation? How big is the problem, first of all? Let's start there and look at it as an overview. How big is that problem?
Well, I'd ask the audience, I mean, has anybody here been on a flight that has not been delayed or not been impacted either through a delay or cancellation?
No.
I think the answer is
no.
Everybody's been affected.
Yeah.
But at an industry level, the numbers are very big. It's a $30 to $50 billion problem inside the transportation industry. There's about 100 million passengers a year affected by delays and cancellations. The impact is not only to the passenger, but in some cases it's to the region, the country. It affects the airline through impact to their brand and so on. So it is a huge problem that we haven't solved in the past.
And it costs a lot of money, all those vouchers, all that upset.
Well, like I said, $30 to $50 billion is the impact published by IATA.
So I don't expect you to answer this in one sentence, but how can the problem be addressed?
Well, it's a big data challenge, right? So we have to look at the schedule data, first of all. Then we have to look at the passenger booking information, and then we have to apply a set of rules. So if you think about what happens today is when we have a snowstorm or a strike, as I think we have in one of the countries here, it becomes largely a manual process today. People line up, they either phone the call centers, they line up at the airports, they stand in front of the ticket office, they call their travel agencies, and it's a first come, first serve answer. And what we've done is through automation and big data and the application of digital transformation at the business process level is that we analyze constantly the schedule and the passenger information. We apply a set of business rules that allows the airlines to prioritize the rebooking of passengers in an automated way. And it sounds simple, but it's not, because there are so many different variables that need to be applied. And we've been able to do this at scale. So today, the systems that the system and the service actually that we offer can protect about 60,000 passengers per minute. And if you had to do that manually, how many people, how many agents, how many people in your call center would you need to rebook 60,000 people in a minute?
And we've been hearing a lot about how the customer is in charge. This whole innovation, this drive forward is very much led at the other end than we're used to. And your point is that that's what passengers deserve.
Absolutely. So the way we think about it is that we need to give the choice and the interaction back to the passenger, so that as we generate these automated solutions, we give the passenger and the airline customer choice to take a series of options through mobile technology.
Have you got an example?
So we've deployed at a large North American carrier. They carry about 150 million passengers. 2 to 3% of their customer base are impacted on a daily basis through disruption. They had about 500 people managing these disruptions inside their organization. High level of customer dissatisfaction. Since we implemented the tool, we've managed to turn this around. They were able to redeploy their people into the business to help facilitate the customers in a different way. We took care of the manual processing through the automation and through the application of the business rules at a scale that they couldn't achieve through any manual processes.
So as far as enterprise services is concerned, the focus is very much on industry solutions, and it's worth doing that for, as you've explained, the value to customers, the expertise that enterprise services has in big data, mobility and cloud, as well as apps.
Right. So this is important for us. The way we've deployed the technology is obviously based on cloud, so that when the airline is running on a sunny sky day, we can shrink the size of the system to run very cost effectively. But when we have a storm or a disruption, whatever it is, we can very quickly scale out the system without having to have the customer or the airline carry that cost. And we call this storm computing. So the idea that you can do this dynamically and not have a huge, massive infrastructure sitting idle while it's sunny out, but that it's available when, when the storms hit and when all the other systems are taxed, including the call centers and your people at the airport. IT is 2% of spend inside an airline. We look at this solution as solving a business case that's worth several $100 million for a large airline. And so it's a challenge that I think we're well positioned to look at and to deal with, given the technology that we support, given our global reach and scale, and our experience and depth of knowledge inside this industry in particular.
Those are very big numbers. It's certainly worth thinking about. In fact, it's imperative that this is thought about. This strategy rethink is what's going to take everybody forward.
Absolutely. It's a problem that's been sitting out there for far too long, and it's only, we've been able to solve this now through the use of technology, through the use of cloud. So this innovation, this business process innovation, this digital transformation, I think is going to have a big impact on everybody in this room as we deploy to more and more customers around the globe.
So Brian, if I could give you a black marker and give you freedom to write on that wall, what kind of vision would you draw out for what you'd love to see in the future in terms of the customer experience in, for example, the airline industry? There's a storm, everybody's rerouted, everyone's frustrated. As you say, it's first come, first served at the check-in desk. What's your solution?
So it goes beyond just dealing with the passenger. It goes to optimizing the full schedule for the airline. So right now, the first constraint we've been dealing with is the passenger. The second constraint we want to deal with is the aircraft routing, and then the ability to staff the aircraft with the pilots and the flight attendants. And so I think if in this space in particular, if we can optimize all three of those constraints, passenger bookings, crew, and aircraft, I think we can improve customer satisfaction for the traveling public. I think we can reduce the cost for the airline and help them improve their revenue and increase their brand loyalty and make things much easier and much simpler, and make travel much better for people when we have the inevitable disruption, because we have them on a daily basis around the globe.
Jeff Smith was saying just that yesterday. He was saying when there was a storm at his hometown airport of Chicago, all the other airlines reblocked all the pilots and all the planes in something like 5 to 7 days. Delta Airlines, which had invested in the right infrastructure and they had gone through their business innovation models and decided to go forward with the digital transformation, hit a button and it was all done in 27 seconds. That's the kind of revolution we're talking about. So we're very grateful today to Brian Cook for joining us here on the stage to highlight those innovations in travel and transportation. Thanks very much, Brian. Great to talk to you.